So this section of the walkthrough is completely optional. In fact, you don't have to do any of it at all right now. We're going to be getting a couple of goddess treasure chests, basically from those two goddess cubes that we just activated. And the first time you enter the sky after getting the goddess cubes, Fi talks about the goddess chests, and they're all marked on your map. If you open up your map and you can see the chests there, if you can't see them initially, that's probably because they're actually on Skyloft itself, and those won't actually appear on the overall sky map. Those will only appear on the Skyloft map. Anyway, as I said, all of this stuff is optional. We are going to be getting 2 pieces of heart here, and that's going to give us 3 out of the 4 needed to get a heart container. But we're going to be getting a piece of heart within the next dungeon as well. So basically getting the first 2 pieces of heart here, it will allow you to get a full heart container by the time you complete the next dungeon. So it's kind of important, I guess. Here we are at the Pumpkin Landing, one of the major islands, in fact the major island outside of Skyloft. And there is Goddess Chest number 1 right here, and it contains an adventure pouch extra thingy. So now we can hold 5 adventure pouch or items in our adventure pouch instead of 4, which is quite valuable actually. Go ahead and enter the Lumpy Pumpkin. This is, I guess, the bar of sorts of Skyward Sword. It's sort of like there was a bar in was it the Milk Bar in Majora's Mask? I guess this is sort of that equivalent in a way. It's sort of like a tavern, but it's I presume they're not serving alcohol, but instead pumpkin soup and pumpkin juice and everything. You can talk to Pum, the owner of the Lumpy Pumpkin, and he's trying to sell you some pumpkin soup. You don't really have to buy anything right now, but he basically says don't break anything, especially the custom-made chandelier that's hanging from the ceiling. What does that tell you? Anyway, you could talk to some of the various people here at the Lumpy Pumpkin, and if you walk up the stairs you'll find Stretch, one of Groos's minions, I suppose. But if you look ahead here, there's a piece of heart and some rupees on that chandelier that he told you explicitly not to break. Thus, why don't we just roll into the wall and break it anyway, because it's Zelda. If they tell you not to break something, that means you are supposed to break it, of course. So just roll into the ledge, and the chandelier just comes tumbling down. Isn't this dangerous? I mean, there's people just sitting at the table, and Link is just completely careless about their safety, their well-being, and he just wants that piece of heart. So run on over and collect it. You could have actually gotten this particular piece of heart before even going to the Farron region, but since we now activated the Goddess Cubes, it seems to make more sense to do it right now. Anyway, run on over and speak to Pum, the owner of the Lumpy Pumpkin, and he's just furious, and he is gonna make it his point for you to work off your debt for breaking the chandelier. You are gonna have to do 3 missions. We can't actually do them all right now, and one of them is delivering some hot pumpkin soup to Aegis, the guy who runs the sparring hall over in Skyloft. So you will get some hot pumpkin soup, and if you don't have an empty bottle, he basically just says, come back later when you have one. It's like you just break his chandelier, and he's like, alright, come back later when you have an empty bottle. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave until you fill up the soup. We're not going to do this quest just yet, because this quest has multiple stages to it. There are 3 phases initially, and we can only do the first one right now. So or we can actually do the first 2, I think. But we can't do the whole thing. So we're going to do that all at one time later on in the quest. Anyway, you could just drink the hot pumpkin soup, or you can save it for later. In 5 minutes, it'll turn into cold pumpkin soup, and it'll be no use for the quest, but you can still drink it. I think it restores some hearts. Our next journey is over to that second Goddess Cube. It's on a small island located just south of Skyloft. It's a pretty barren island, much like most of the islands in Skyloft. But you can fly on over. You can use your map and plant a beacon if you are having trouble locating it. But just fly on over, and you can open the treasure chest here to get, I believe, a piece of heart, I want to say. Let's see if my memory serves me well. Yes, a piece of heart. This is the third piece of heart in the game, and as I said earlier in this video, we'll be getting our fourth one in the next dungeon, the first dungeon, and that will allow us to get a full heart container before even fighting the boss of the next dungeon. Anyway, we could fly on over to Skyloft right now. Now that we have the slingshot, we can actually enter Beetle's air shop. However, I'm going to make one stop before going there, and this is completely optional. And again, it's another stop we could have made before actually entering the Faron region. And this is far north of Skyloft, and it's referred to as Bamboo Island. Bamboo Island is basically a minigame of sorts where you cut down bamboo. Pretty self-explanatory, I guess. This was shown in some of the initial trailers of Skyward Sword, and it was like a minigame specifically designed to show off the capabilities of the Wii Motion Plus and the one-to-one sword play, how it sort of tracks however you swing your sword. And basically how the minigame works is there is a bamboo stick, and you have a certain amount of time, basically until the bamboo stick falls to the ground, to slice it up in as many slashes as you possibly can. It's a pretty fun minigame, but you'll find after playing it a few times early on, it quickly gets old as there's not too much to it. So speak with Peter, I think it's Peater, I want to say. He's the guy who runs the minigame here, and you can play. It will cost you some rupees to play, but you can easily win back these rupees by scoring a certain amount of points. Basically, if you score between 15 and I want to say 19, you can get rupees back, and it's an easy way to earn rupees since it's incredibly easy to score in that amount. If you score between, I want to say 20 and 27, you'll get a treasure. But if you score more than 28, you will get a rare treasure. I personally find it's most efficient to... that was pretty awful right there, but to slash just left, right, left, right, left, right quickly. Some of the staff at Zelda Dungeon said it's better if you slash from diagonally, top left to bottom right to top left to bottom right, just in that diagonal. This way, you're when you slash it, the bamboo won't fall all the way to the right when you slash from left to right. That could work. I've tried it. It's useful actually, but I'm not sure if that's the best method. Furthermore, at this point in the game, you have a rather small sword. You have just the Goddess Sword. As the game progresses, you will get a longer, more powerful sword, and with that longer sword, you'll actually be able to more easily get a higher score at the bamboo game. So it's a good place to pick up some treasures early on. In particular, you can get a monster horn and some other small, more common treasures. In order to get the higher score, you either have to be very good at the game, or your best bet is to come back later after you've upgraded your sword, and that'll make it easier for you to score that 28 points or higher. Anyway, our next destination is at Skyloft, and as I mentioned a little earlier, we can now enter Beetle's air shop. Beetle has been around since the Wind Waker, I want to say, right? Yeah, he was in the Wind Waker. He had the boat shop, basically. And in Phantom Hourglass, he also had a similar boat shop. And in Spirit Tracks, he had his own hot air balloon type shop. In this case, he has his own air shop again, but this air shop is a little different. It's not a hot air balloon. Instead, it's a actual air shop that he powers by controlling by riding on his little bicycle, and I guess it spins the gears, causing the propellers to spin, and it keeps the shop afloat. You will need to hit the bell with your slingshot or any other projectile. This is the only projectile we have now, so this is the only reason why we couldn't enter this shop earlier. Anyway, Beetle will always have 4 items for sale, at least initially, and they basically work where once you purchase an item, it will get replaced by another item, and I believe each slot has 3 or 4 items, and then once you've purchased all, I think 3 in each of the 4 spots, then there will be nothing left for you to purchase. You certainly want to purchase the bug net. This will allow you to capture various floating bugs and insects and such. And if you have at least 100 additional rupees, it's a good idea to purchase the extra wallet. The extra wallet allows you to hold 300 additional rupees. With our standard wallet, our small wallet, we can only hold 300 in total. But now with the extra wallet, we can have 300 plus 300, so 600 rupees. This could be useful, especially in the first dungeon, since if you don't purchase it, there's a likelihood that you could reach the maximum of 300 rupees, at which any additional rupees you get from that point on, you won't be able to really collect. Just outside of Beetle's Airshop, right here near the plaza, you will find some butterflies floating around, and these are known as blessed butterflies. They serve a purpose later on in the game that's kind of important, but for now you can just capture them with your bug net, and they appear on your collection screen. These are probably probably the second most common bug that you'll find. It's not rare at all, well, that's it. Inside of the Waterfall Cave, I'm just fast forwarding here, there are 2 different bugs we can catch, as well as some treasure hunting we want to do. The first of which is this little like starfly type bug here, and you have to be a little careful, but Starry Firefly, that was the actual name. You have to be patient in walking up to it, otherwise it will sort of just fly away really quickly. The second is this little mantis that's on the ground here. It's a Skyloft mantis, and this is another one that you have to be patient, otherwise it will fly away quickly. These bugs can be later on used to upgrade your potions. The other reason I'm in this Waterfall Cave right now is you can sort of just go back and forth through the cave, defeating the Choo Choo and Keese, because we want to capture, or we want to get some jelly blobs, and we also want to get some monster claws. These are completely optional right now, and I just went back and forth throughout the cave a couple dozen times and just picked up some extra rupees and picked up some extra items. The reason for this is that if you have both monster claws and jelly blobs, we can make an upgrade over at the scrap shop within the bazaar. So run on over and speak with Gonzo, the scrap shop owner, and you will be able to upgrade. Well, there's a few things you could upgrade. Number 1, you could upgrade your slingshot, your bug net, and your wooden shield. Unfortunately, you can't upgrade all of them right now. Like I'll run through them right now, and the wooden shield is what we really want to upgrade. And since we have 1 jelly blob, 1 monster claw, and 2 amber relics, you should be able to upgrade this. And it's not too expensive. It's only, I believe, 30 rupees. And this basically gives your shield more power, more durability. In the Skyview Temple, there are certain enemies, and in particular the dungeon boss, that it's kind of important to use your wooden shield. So upgrading it to the banded shield is a good idea. You don't have to, and again, it takes some grinding to get the jelly blobs and such, but you could if you'd like. We cannot upgrade our slingshot because we don't have any dusk relics, and we can't upgrade our bug net since we don't have any of those goodies yet. The bandit shield actually has an additional upgrade as well. but there's nothing really for us to do yet with that one. You could talk to the item check teller if you haven't already. As I mentioned, it's a good idea to repeatedly talk to her as you go through your quest, because there's a side quest that involves you having to talk to her every day, basically. So just keep talking to her, and every time you go to bed, just talk to her again, and this will make a side quest later on in the dungeon and later on in the game a lot easier. Anyway, that's pretty much all we can do in Skyloft. So let's jump on our loft wing and fly back over to the Farin region of the game. Once again, you could do some exploration across the various islands in the sky, and you can talk to the various people in Skyloft, but there isn't much to do. You could do some bug collecting. There's some bugs on Skyloft that I didn't get that you could get right now, but fly on over and land at the Farin region. And you want to land at the Deep Woods, or the Forest Temple as it's called, the location, which is just outside the location of the first dungeon. I wonder why it's called the Forest Temple, since the temple itself is not called the Forest Temple. I wonder if that was a late game name change that they didn't correct, or if they just said, hey, it's a temple, it's by the forest. So you could go ahead and enter the Skyview Temple right away. If you look off just to the right, there's a Deku Baba here, and there's a stone tablet that sort of gives you a hint on what to do. He who descended from above, look at the star that the bird rising heavenward gazes upon, and aim your shot there. So look above and aim your shot. This is a hint on how to enter the Skyview Temple. And if you just walk up to it, you can use your slingshot, and there's a diamond switch right above the entrance. That triggers you to automatically enter the dungeon, so I don't want to do that just yet, as there are a few goodies for us to get here. If you haven't already, push that log. It'll give you easier access through the Deep Woods. But I'm going to run back to an earlier portion of this section of the Deep Woods, because there is a goodie for us to get that I didn't get earlier, but now there's an additional goodie for us to get. And it comes in these beehives, or the hornet hives of sorts. First and foremost, you can get rid of these bokoblins if you'd like. But as soon as you start making noise, the hornets will chase after you here, these bees. Now that we have the bug net, we can use the bug net, and we can capture these bees. And I'm having a little bit of trouble as I'm being attacked by bokoblins and bees at the same time. Could be a little difficult, but afterwards, you can use your slingshot to knock down or to scare the bugs and knock down the beehive, and you can pick up the hornet larva. This is basically the remains of the beehive, and it serves as one of the treasures. You need a couple of these in the game, so it's a good idea to get these whenever possible. Then, as I said, use your bug net to get some Deku hornets. This, in addition to the blessed butterflies, this is the easiest, by far the easiest bugs to collect, since every time you knock down one hornet's nest, you can basically collect almost a dozen of these things. So you can just swipe your bug net back and forth. There's really not much of a strategy. Unlike most of the other bugs, these ones won't fly away from you, since they're trying to sting you pretty much. So one thing, if you are running low on health, Fi will actually mention you are running low at health, and that'll actually add heart pieces or recovery hearts to your dowsing ability. I didn't talk to Fi there, so whenever your hearts are running low, you can just talk to Fi, and you'll be able to douse for recovery hearts. Pretty useful. It's a good way to find recovery hearts, as, to be honest with you, early on in this game, they're pretty rare. Anyway, we're now ready to enter the first dungeon of the game, the Skyview Temple. So go ahead, pull out your slingshot, hit the diamond switch, and, well, join me for the next dungeon.